Hi, Dave here, bringing you another great recipe that you can make at home. This week we're making summer sausage, a 10-pound batch. There's two different ways you can make this summer sausage. You can use a starter culture, or you can go without the starter culture. What the starter culture will do is give you a tang to your meat. I prefer the starter culture. I like the flavor better on it, but more than half the summer sausages out there that I've tried don't use the starter culture, and they're fine just like that. It just depends what you're used to and what you like. Starter culture we're going to be using today is the Firm FRM52. You can get this starter culture at any sausage supply place. I get most of my stuff from the sausage maker. When using a starter culture, you're going to have to keep this at 70 to 90 degrees for right around 12 hours. You can always tell when it's completely done and ready to go because the color of it will completely change. It can take longer than 12 hours also. I've had it take me up to 20 hours to get the desired color. Depends on your outlying conditions, humidity, how much heat you got it. Optimal temperature for this would be 85 degrees. The bacteria grows best at 85 degrees, but as long as you keep it between 70 and 90, bacteria will grow and work. I'm going to put mine in my dry cure chamber, which doubles as a little heat chamber for when I make summer sausage. I put a little heater in there and I can keep it at about 85 degrees that way. Before I started doing that way though, I sectioned off a little piece of my basement down here and I put a heater in there and I could keep it between 85 and 90 pretty consistently, and that'll work just fine. Starter culture that we'll be using has to be kept in your freezer 20 minutes before you mix it into your meat. It's going to take you a half a teaspoon per 10 pounds, mixed in with a half a cup of tepid water. Do not use chlorinated water. It'll kill the starter culture. The starter culture is actually a bacteria, so chlorinated water just kills it. The starter culture is the last thing you put in. You put all your seasonings in your meat, get that all mixed up, and then last you put the starter culture in. Then you mix that up real good again. When you're using the starter culture, it's got directions on the back, but what you want to ignore is the 4 days. It tells you it's going to reach completion within 4 days. That is for a dry cured salami. On a summer sausage is not dry cured, so it's going to take you about 12 hours. But it's going to tell you how to mix it, everything right on the back. Today we're going to use a 2.5-inch fibrous casing. I get my fibrous casings from Eldon's just because I can get it in a 100-foot roll. And any place else that I've looked, they're already pre-cut and usually 24-inch lengths. And I like mine. Everybody's got a different size smoker, so this way you can cut it at length if you'd like. And these don't go bad on you. You can keep them forever. You can get fibrous casings clear or mahogany colored. I always like to get the clear, that way I can see when it's changing colors. We got our beef trim ready here. We used a beef chuck. We want to go between 80 and 85% lean on this. We're going to grind this twice with the fine grind or the fine plate. After the first grind, we're going to add all the seasonings to it. And after we run it through the second grind, we'll add the mustard seed to it. It's going to, if you don't do it after the second grind, it's going to get caught up in your grinder. And then that's when we'll add the bacteria to it or the starter culture. Okay, we got the first grind ready. Now we're going to add the seasoning. This is for a 10-pound batch. Powdered dextrose, 3 tablespoons. 1/4 cup of salt. Ground mustard, 3 tablespoons. White pepper, 1 tablespoon. Black pepper, 2 tablespoons. Coriander, 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon granulated garlic. 2 tablespoons of nutmeg. 3 tablespoons of corn syrup solids. And 2 teaspoons of Instacure number 1. cups of dried milk, and 1 cup of water. We'll get this mixed up real good, and then we'll run through the second grind, a fine plate again, and then we'll add the starter culture, and we'll add the mustard seeds. 2 cups of dried milk, and 1 cup of water. We'll get this mixed up real good, and then we'll run through the second grind, a fine plate again, and then we'll add the starter culture, and we'll add the mustard seeds. I have a correction on that recipe. That was a coarse ground black pepper that I used. We got our second grind done. Now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of mustard seed, but you can add more mustard seed if you want, if you'd like to. So I know some people really like the mustard seeds in there. And we'll also add the starter culture at this time. We'll mix that up real good, and then we'll run through the stuffer. Okay, we got this run into the casings. Now we're going to put it in my dry cure chamber slash heat chamber. I'm going to keep the temperature right around 85 degrees, and it'll hang in there for about 12 hours. It varies depending on humidity, but usually right around 12 hours for me. If you're at a lower temperature, 70 degrees, it could take you 15, 20 hours. The longest it's ever taken me was about 20 hours. This recipe works really good for wild game. But if you're using wild game, make sure a third of that, or right around 30% of that's going to be beef fat you add to it. You can go the 50-50 method where you use half wild game and half beef chuck, but make sure your beef chuck's got a lot of fat in it. Because wild game is so lean, you're going to need that extra fat. So just pick out fat chucks. If you're not using the starter culture today, then after you run it into the casings, you can go ahead and put it in your smoker. What you want to do is put a meat thermometer in. You want to reach 152 degrees internal temperature. On summer sausage, I'll usually set my smoker to 175. Okay, we got our summer sausage out of the heat chamber now. As you can see, it completely changed color. I maintained a heat at about 85 degrees, 86 degrees. On that, the humidity was about 55%. The humidity can vary on it, depends how much heat you got to add to it. I put a little space heater in there to keep the temperature at 85. And you can regulate that. I'm using an old refrigerator for my heat chamber slash dry cure chamber, and you can regulate temperature a little bit better by opening the door a little bit more, closing it a little bit more. It's hard to maintain humidity when you got that heat going on it. Okay, we got our summer sausage pulled out of the smoker now. Now it's important within 5 minutes to give it a hot water shower. If you don't give it a hot water shower, it's going to shrivel up on you. This will also get rid of the excess smoke residue and any oil that's leached out of the casing. We waited 5 minutes after we drained the water off. Now we're going to give it a second hot water shower. Otherwise it'll still shrivel up on you. You got to do it twice. Sometimes I got to do it 3 times. Keep an eye on it after the second shower. If it starts to shrivel, give it 1 more time, and that'll take care of it for sure. We took the summer sausage out of the smoker. I had it set at 175. It was in there for about 8 hours. And we reached an internal temperature of 152 on the sausage. That'll make it a sliced meat item once it's cooled down. Our summer sausage is all ready to go now. It was chilled overnight, so now it's ready to eat. Until next time, have a great day.